Tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari flags off Bua's 3 million metric ton cement plant in Sokoto, says it is evidence that government's economic policies are working. In spite of initial protest by 7 aspirants in the Ekiti State APC primary, Mr. Abiodun Ibanji emerges party's candidate for the June 18th governorship election in the state. Soccer for Sickle Cell patients as Bone Marrow Transplant Centre begins operation, a partnership between the Lagos government and Sickle Cell Foundation of Nigeria. And the United States threatens to halt opening of key pipeline that would send Russian gas to Western Europe if Russia invades Ukraine. Plus, international news from our studio in London.
On Business News tonight, House of Representatives asks Central Bank of Nigeria to suspend plan to implement electronic invoice for all import and export operations.
And from Abuja, tragedy as tanker explosion kills 2 persons, over 20 houses destroyed in Ohoro community in Uyeli North local government area of Delta State.
And in line with efforts to make Nigeria self-sufficient in cement production, President Muhammadu Buhari today commissioned a 3 million metric tons Bua cement line 4 factory in Sokoto State. And as far as the president is concerned, that is clear evidence that his administration's economic policies are working.
It's a 3 million metric tons per annum facility by Bua Cement, a gigantic and strategic project built with the latest sustainable technology, situated in Kalambaina, Sokoto State, the 4th to be constructed in the state. This historic achievement draws the attention of President Muhammadu Buhari, who has a dual role of inaugurating the Line 4 and performing the groundbreaking ceremony of Line 5. Highlighting his administration's support to the private sector, the president says the economic policies of his government are working.
One of the key economic pillars of our administration has been to create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. This is necessary for job creation and indeed our economy and national security. It is therefore very clear for all to see that our policies are working.
President Buhari also commends Bua Group for supporting the government's economic diversification and job creation agenda.
I am pleased that through these investments, Bua Cement has created employment opportunities for our citizens. Today, Bua is the largest employer of labor in the Northwest region.
The founder of Bua Group, Abdul Samad Rabiu, says he has a target, and that is to continue its investment in the cement industry until Nigeria is self-sufficient.
We intend to complete the construction of new plants of 3 million metric tons each, for which construction is already going on. One in Edo State and the other one here in Sokoto. And we expect these plants to be completed next year, which will bring our total production capacity to 17 million metric tons.
The central bank governor, in his goodwill message, urges potential investors to take advantage of the current administration's industrial drive.
Let me assure current and prospective operators in the industrial sector that the Central Bank of Nigeria stands ready to continue to collaborate with you in enabling the development of a viable manufacturing sector in Nigeria. Your Excellency, before I conclude my remarks, please permit me, sir, to seize this opportunity to appeal to our manufacturers in the manufacturing sector to please take urgent action in bringing down the price of building materials in Nigeria.
On his part, the host governor, Aminu Tambuwal, commends Bua Group for creating more jobs in the region.
I thank the chairman of Bua, Abdul Samad Rabiu, for your dynamic team for making Sokoto your home and putting our state on the global map in industrialization and investment drive. I'm also glad to intimate Mr. President and other distinguished guests here that Abdul Samad Rabiu Foundation is supporting the state with a sum of 2.5 billion naira toward the development of education, health and social sectors.
This latest project has brought the total plant capacity in Sokoto State to 5 million metric tons per annum and will position Nigeria as one of the top cement producers in Africa.
Well, the president's visit was not all about commissioning. He also paid a visit to the palace of the Sultan of Sokoto, where he again directed the nation's armed forces and other security services to deal decisively with any person or group undermining efforts at achieving sustainable peace, security and stability in the country. The president, who was speaking at the palace of the Sultan of Sokoto, said he gave specific orders for the military not to spare any bandit or terrorist or threaten the lives and property of innocent Nigerians. The president commiserated with the government and people of Sokoto State over the recent loss of lives and property as a result of outrageous attacks by bandits and other criminal gangs. He also assured the people that he remains unrelenting in his resolve to put an end to the heinous criminal activities in the state and other parts of the country. Well, meanwhile, the president's proposed one-day state visit to Zamfara state did not hold today. No thanks to the bad weather. President Buhari was expected to visit the state to condole with the government and people over the recent killing of 58 persons in Ankara and Bukuyum local government areas. The state governor, Bello Matawale, said the president was to come to Zamfara state after his engagement in Sokoto state, but unfortunately, the poor weather condition did not allow him to proceed.
Mr. President, intend to come to Zamfara today after commissioning of a cement factory in Sokoto. But unfortunately, the weather does not allow him to come. If you go out, you can see the weather has dropped from 800 to 5.5, which is very unfortunate. And his life is more than our own interest. Therefore, we are regrettably informing you that Mr. President has gone back to Abuja, but he is to reschedule his coming back to Zamfara next week. Therefore, he directed me to come and inform the people and apologize for this nature, which is not his doing. This is how God was destined to happen today.
But the president has apologized to Zamfara residents over his inability to meet up with his scheduled visit to the state. The president tendered the apology during a broadcast to the people.
My dear people of Zamfara state, it pains me that I can no longer be with you today as I had planned. I had just finished what I came to do in Sokoto at the Buhari cement facility and looking forward to meeting you. I have been told that the trip cannot hold anymore because of bad weather, which has made it impossible for the helicopter to fly to Gusau from Sokoto. I understand how you feel about this development, but I know that you will agree with me that Allah knows best. I particularly sympathize with your governor, Bello Matawale, and his cabinet, who have put everything in place to make the visit a successful one. I look forward to a more weather-friendly period when I will visit you. Security agencies are to sustain the onslaught against terrorists, restrict cross-border boundary infiltrations, and all unauthorized access to the gold mines in the state. The federal government and the Zamfara state government are working to ensure that peace returns to all parts of the state in the shortest possible time, and we expect all citizens to cooperate and support the armed forces and other security agencies.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari speaking there. And to politics, where a former secretary to the Ekiti state government, Mr. Abiodun Oyebanji, has emerged as the party's flag bearer for the June 18 governorship election in the state. Mr. Oyebanji defeated 7 other aspirants in the primary that held in the state capital today. But earlier in the day, 7 out of the 8 All Progressives Congress governorship aspirants protested alleged irregularities in the conduct of the party's primary. The aspirants who thronged the party secretariat in Ado-Ekiti with their supporters claimed the process had been manipulated to favour Mr. Abiodun Oyebanji, who was tagged as the governor's preferred choice. They accused the superintending officials of distributing voting materials earlier than scheduled with a sinister objective to give a sole aspirant an edge.
Voting is not supposed to start until 12 noon. They are supposed to have accreditation between 8 a.m. and 12 noon. And voting will be 12 noon to 2 p.m. according to their guidelines, copies of which we all have, published on the website of the party. But what did we get? Materials were distributed last night, and as of 1 a.m. in some local governments, they were already celebrating, already jubilating over the purported election of Abiodun Oyebanji.
I woke up this morning to all this, finding out that results have been written in virtually all the words. Mine is very simple. I'm a politician. I don't play games with people. If government has decided to do what it is they've done, they can kiss the party goodbye in the state. Simple as ABC. If they want to doubt what capacity we have in this state, let's go for it. It's June 18. Simple as ABC. We don't relent when we start. It's not a threat, it's a prophecy.
Meanwhile, the man in the center of the allegations, Mr. Abiodun Oyebanji, had described the process of the direct primary as well organized, expressing optimism that any matter arising can always be resolved as a political family affair. He disagreed with the claims that he is the favored candidate by the governor and says the right guidelines have been duly followed in the primary election.
The guidelines stipulates the process to follow. I came here within the stipulated time. I got accredited. When it was 12 o'clock, we queued and we voted. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a peaceful process and it's flawless. APC is a big family. So within a family, there are disagreements. That will be resolved.
And what's your relationship with the government? They say you are closer to him than others.
All of us are close to the government. Everybody in this race, they are very close to the government. And many of them have benefited from its benevolence.
And staying in Ekiti State, the governor, Kayode Fayemi, has described the relationship among members of the Nigeria Governors Forum as one without bitterness. Governor Fayemi was speaking while playing host to the governors of Akwa Ibom State, Udom Emmanuel, and his Jigawa State counterpart, Badaru Abubakar, and the governor's office in Ado-Ekiti, the state capital. While Governors Fayemi and Abubakar are members of the All Progressives Congress, Governor Emmanuel belongs to the People's Democratic Party. The visiting governors are in Ekiti State to conduct the primaries there. Also visiting Governor Fayemi is his predecessor, Ayodele Fayose. Governor Fayemi describes the action as camaraderie, which he says demonstrates that it is politics without bitterness. He says after hot exchanges and political disagreements, it's possible to disagree without being disagreeable. The host governor advised politics should be about values and vision and not violence and viciousness. In part 2, after the break, soccer for sickle cell patients as bone marrow transplant center begins operation. It's a partnership between the Lagos government and the Sickle Cell Foundation of Nigeria. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari flags off Buha's 3 million metric ton cement plant in Sokoto, says it's evidence that government's economic policies are working. In spite of initial protest by 7 aspirants in Ekiti APC primary, Mr. Abiodun Oyebanji emerges party's candidate for the June 18 governorship election in the state. Soccer for sickle cell patients as bone marrow transplant center begins operations, a partnership between the Lagos government and Sickle Cell Foundation of Nigeria. And United States threatens to halt opening of key pipeline that would send Russian gas to Western Europe if Russia invades Ukraine. Stories from the National Assembly. The House of Representatives is calling for investigation and prosecution of the Southeastern security outfit, Buhari, over allegations of illegalities and unlawful possession of firearms. This follows a motion of urgent public importance raised by Representative Igariwe Enwo on the need to stop the deteriorating security situation in Ebonyi State being caused by the state government security outfit. According to the lawmaker, the group is not trained on how to use the weapons and is involved in illegalities.
We are further concerned that this armed militia group are said to have detention facilities where victims are kept and tortured. Cognizant that the activities of the Buhari militia group is gravely interfering with and jeopardizing the operational activities of the regular security agencies such as the Nigerian Police, Civil Defense, State Security Services, and the rest of other security agencies. Mr. Speaker, we're also aware that within this week, specifically 2 days ago, they say the Buhari militia group has been hunting to arrest and possibly harm a former member of this House, Right Honorable Linus Okorie, even when he did not commit any offense. He has been declared wanted and is hiding from one place to the other. Mr. Speaker, further aware that in the past few weeks, innocent Ebonyi citizens have been attacked and some killed in cold blood by the Buhari militia. So resolved to urge as follows: urge the Inspector General of Police to investigate and prosecute all reported attacks and killings in Ebonyi State by the Buhari militia. Secondly, we urge the Office of the National Security and Intelligence to investigate the status of the authorization of the various weapons, such as pump-action guns, AK-47, and other automatic weapons, which are freely in use by the Buhari militia in Ebonyi State.
From security to health, a bone marrow transplant center has been opened at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital for residents who have traits of sickle cell. The National Director and Chief Executive Officer of Sickle Cell Foundation Nigeria says sickle cell now has a cure and the center can successfully carry out bone marrow transplant for children.
Nigeria has a population of over 200 million people. Out of this, over 2 million live with the sickle cell trait, with 25% adults and 75% children.
To the glory of God. God bless you. Amen.
As a way of changing the narrative, the Sickle Cell Foundation Nigeria and the Lagos State Government are here to open a bone marrow transplant center at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, LUTH, to help patients have access to quality treatment.
With this transplant center in place in Lagos, not only will Nigerians cease to travel out to access a cure for sickle cell disease, but it will in fact be a new dawn for medical tourism into Nigeria from other countries for safe, quality, and more affordable bone marrow transplantation.
We have over 2 million Nigerians with sickle cell disease. This center will be another marvelous first in Nigeria because it's going to be the first and most sustainable program in the whole of West Africa and beyond.
The Lagos State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, says more awareness should be created to reduce the growing number of sickle cell disease.
We have 150,000 children born every year in Nigeria with sickle cell disease. That's an alarming figure. But what is even more alarming is that 100,000 of those children will not live beyond their 5th birthday. Sometimes prevention is better than cure, and that we should pay attention to reducing the number of children that are born with sickle cell. And the geneticists that are here, the counselors are here. I think we need more activity in this direction.
For the founder of the Sickle Cell Foundation, this is a dream come true, but he hopes his center will fulfill its purpose.
I hope it will help to solve a lot of our problems. We have people too who are living with sickle cell. We have people who are, a doctor friend of mine died In September, at the age of 72, she had sickle cell anemia.
His optimism is shared by the CEO of the Sickle Cell Foundation, who believes the center can successfully carry out transplants for children.
In our protocol here, we're going to do only children between the ages of 5 and under 18, 5 to 17. We don't do adults, because adults tend to have more problems with accepting what we call grafts from a donor. But children are more open to receiving and less complications.
The Lagos State Government and the Sickle Cell Foundation Nigeria welcome more support from concerned Nigerians in ensuring that patients with such ailments get care and treatment as quickly as possible.
Well, staying with health, the Rose of Sharon Foundation, dedicated to helping widows and orphans, has decided to start the women off on a healthy note in 2022 with free cancer screening. Widows in Lagos were treated through a lecture on breast and cervical cancers prior to being screened, and those who needed it got free treatment for their conditions.
The women gathered in this building all have one thing in common. They are widows. Rose of Sharon Foundation is partnering with Optimal Cancer Care Foundation to screen each one of them for breast and cervical cancer. But first comes some education.
Some cells that are supposed to have died are forgotten. They continue to grow. So when they are growing, all your nutrients are going there. They're supposed to go somewhere else for development, for the good health of your body. And until you go there to remove it, it will continue to grow until the person dies.
He explains further that the condition always starts small and takes a long time to deteriorate, which makes screening imperative for catching it early enough to treat.
So if you touch 12 o'clock and there's no longer, lift your fingers and go to 3 o'clock. Look at what she's doing.
It's a full package of awareness creation as the women learn how to examine their breasts for abnormalities every month. They then take turns to get screened for both cancers behind the privacy curtain. According to the expert, 1 in 10 women has changes in the cervix which need to be quickly addressed to prevent cancer.
The majority of women who are dying from breast and cervical cancer have been failed by our government and lack of access to cancer screening programs. And it's not expensive to organize cancer screening programs for our women.
We do our healthcare programs with skilled healthcare professionals in different fields of health who provide free healthcare services for our widows. So we came in contact with Optimal Cancer Care Foundation and we decided to partner with them because that's what they have been doing for over a decade.
For about 14 years, the Rose of Sharon Foundation has been helping widows, children and orphans live healthy and productive lives in other areas as well, such as education and empowerment for financial independence.
And we're off to Abuja now, where Mark Ogun Yusuf has some more stories. Hi, Mark.
Hello, Millicent. A tragedy tops our stories here tonight as 2 persons are reported dead and over 20 houses and properties worth millions of naira destroyed following an accident involving a liquefied petroleum gas tanker and a granite truck in Ohoro community, Ughelli North local government area of Delta State. The accident occurred in the early hours of today when the granite truck rammed into the LPG tanker stationed at Ohoro Junction axis of the east-west road, killing the drivers of the vehicles, while many were left stranded and homeless as a result. Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, who was on his way for another assignment, had to stop to visit the scene of the accident.
Residents of Ohoro community woke up to the news of an accident involving 2 trucks. It was gathered that a truck laden with granite was heading towards Port Harcourt from Ughelli when the driver ran into the stationary tanker and in the process collided with other tankers which ignited the fire, killing the driver of the LPG tanker, his assistant, and over 20 houses and property razed down. The State Fire Service was alerted and quickly mobilized to the community to ensure that the fire was extinguished immediately. Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, who was on his way to another assignment, had to digress and visit the scene of the explosion. Accompanied by the Speaker of the Delta State House of Assembly and other government functionaries, the governor was conducted around the scene by local government chairman and the President General of the community, who briefed him on the incident.
They were told that it was just packed. It was packed there before. And with fear now, nobody was. When it started, the person who had it could not come closer to the fire. He ran away.
Empathizing with the community on the tragedy, Governor Okowa gives an assurance that government will take proactive steps to cushion the effect of the inferno on the victims. He also called for an immediate assessment of the major causes of the gas explosion, directing the State Director of the Fire Service to remain on ground till the tanker conveying gas and posing a threat to the community is evacuated.
It's something we'll be very careful about. Anything leaks out from there, once the gas leaks out, it just leaks out continuously. It's not like petrol. It's not like diesel at all. So we still have to stay very cautious and open our eyes, because the fire from gas is not something anyone wants to pray for at all. We'll try to take the proper documentation of the community and see what we'll be able to do.
Meanwhile, members of the community have been advised to stay away from the scene of the incident, remain vigilant, and avoid further loss of lives and property.
While staying in Delta State, some gunmen today attacked a bullion van belonging to a commercial bank that was en route Asaba from Warri. According to the Public Relations Officer of the Delta State Command of the Nigeria Police, Bright Edafe, the van was ambushed by heavily armed hoodlums, numbering about 10 in two Toyota Sienna vehicles along the Ughelli-Ozoro Expressway, Oto Owie. According to Mr. Edafe, in the ensuing gun duel, one policeman and the driver of the bullion van were injured. He, however, says no life was lost, but some of the hoodlums were fatally injured and were taken away by their gang members, while the bullion van was recovered and taken to the police station. In the northwest of the country, a helicopter belonging to the Nigeria Police Force is said to have crashed in Bauchi on Wednesday, injuring 6 persons. That's according to the Accident Investigation Bureau, AIB. According to the AIB, the helicopter took off from Abuja, but no life was lost in the crash. The Bureau said it was informed of the accident by the Nigeria Airspace Management Agency, NAMA, and an inquiry is already underway. The AIB is asking members of the public with video clips, evidence, or information about the accident to come forward to assist with the investigation into the crash. The police has, however, disagreed with the helicopter crash as claimed by the AIB, saying the helicopter was involved in a controlled, safe landing. In a statement by the Force Public Relations Officer, DSP Frank Umba, the police explains that the aircraft did not crash land and none of the occupants sustained any injury whatsoever. Well, right here in the FCT, fuel queues returned to filling stations in Abuja, despite the federal government's assurance that it will no longer remove fuel subsidy this year as earlier planned. The queues surfaced across the city as some motorists accused the petrol stations of hoarding the product. Meanwhile, the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited is assuring members of the public that there is adequate supply of stock.
Long queues of vehicles waiting for fuel at petrol stations. These queues resurfaced as the federal government took a decision to extend the fuel subsidy regime. Some motorists have been on the queue since the early hours of the day as they accuse the stations of hoarding the product.
They are waiting for the government to lift the whole subsidy so they can maximize their profits. It's understandable. If you have an old product, why not sell it at the normal price you got those products for? I don't know if you get it. When they remove the subsidy finally, which I know they will do, then you start selling whatever. If it's 1,000, you sell, we'll buy. Make these things available for us.
If I tell you how many hours it takes me to buy fuel today, it will surprise you. Okay, assuming I'm working for somebody in the office, would they allow me to go around looking for fuel? It's so bad, so bad.
Black market traders are having a field day as commuters continue to wait under the scorching sun to get the product. The queue is causing heavy traffic along some of the major roads.
You buy 10 liters at around 1,600 and something. If you want to buy it from these black marketers, it's around 3,000, which is almost doubling the price. Please, government should do something about this thing.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited had issued a statement assuring residents that there is enough stock to serve Nigerians. The Minister of State for Petroleum, Mr. Timipri Silva, had earlier ascribed the situation to panic buying.
When people are expecting a certain policy direction, people tend to want to take steps against it. Some want to profiteer. And of course, they try to begin to hoard. Some people also want to make sure that they stock enough PMS in their homes so that whenever there is this announcement, they will be able to have enough in storage. So all that will inform the reason for this panic buying and, of course, panic hoarding.
According to the NNPC statement, which was signed by its Group General Manager and the Public Affairs Division, Mr. Garba Mohammed, the company is cautioning sellers of the product against hoarding.
Well, that's all from Abuja. It's back to you, Millicent, for the rest of the news.
Many thanks, Markwe. We continue in Oyo State, where the Governor, Seyi Makinde, and his counterpart from Adamawa State, Governor Amadu Fintiri, have commissioned the dualized 9.7-kilometer Okeogun-Polishaki Township, Ilesha-Ibaroba Road. Governor Fintiri, who was the special guest of honor at the event, commended Mr. Makinde for delivering such a massive road project, among many others, despite the economic challenges in the country. Governor Makinde is optimistic that the road will enhance the socio-economic fiber of the state, as it is strategic to agriculture development and commerce.
The governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, in company of members of his cabinet and his counterpart from Adamawa State, Umaru Fintiri, all in Okeogun zone of the state for the commissioning of road projects across the zone. They arrived to a rousing welcome as residents of the area rolled out the drums. Speaking at the official commissioning ceremony held at the Okeogun Polytechnic Shaki, Governor Seyi Makinde maintained that the Shaki Township Road project will enhance the socio-economic development of the state and play a major role in engineering a modern Oyo state. He adds that his administration revoked the contract from the initial contractor and embarked on a cost-effective road construction.
We are delivering this road at a lower cost than when it was first awarded in 2016. In physical cash, we saved 1 billion naira. And this is what we will continue to do.
The governor of Adamawa State, Umaru Fintiri, then commissions the project for use.
A quantum of project I've seen in Oyo State has reinforced my belief in Seyi. The alternative project funding approach initiative for the urban renewal campaign which Seyi have initiated is manifest in the provision of multiple road infrastructure.
With this development, travel time has been greatly reduced on this 9.7-kilometer stretch of road, even as a seamless linkage between the food basket of the state in Okeogun and other parts of the state is made possible.
To other stories, between now and 2024, China will be investing as much as $300 billion in Africa. That's according to the chairman of the China-Africa Business Council, Diana Chen. She was speaking during the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the council and the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
The official relationship between Nigeria and China dates back to February of 1971, when both established diplomatic relations. The East Asian country takes the relationship further, signing a memorandum of understanding in 2006, signaling the beginning of its investment in Nigeria. Since that action, about $29 billion have been invested. And now, the world's most populous country wants to increase that investment portfolio, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa. And that's the essence of this gathering, bringing together board members of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the leadership of the China-Africa Business Council.
The signing of this multi-billion-dollar partnership.
LCCI expresses excitement at the benefits the partnership portends.
This MOU today being signed will further improve bilateral and diplomatic relations between our two major countries.
For the Chinese representative, the investment will focus on 9 key areas of interest, including medical, poverty reduction, digital innovation, culture, peace and security.
We already made a projection or plan that between China and Africa in the next 3 years, China wants to increase to 300 billion business volume. So, and I think this is a significant effort we try to build it. And we give the timeline that we must make it happen in 3 years.
Part of the details of this partnership is the engagement of relevant organizations, institutions and individuals with the required capacity.
It is important that the LCCI finds strategic ways to ensure that players in these different sectors are able to mobilize their energies to be able to see how they can tap into this resource within the shortest possible time in a partnership that is not biased, in a partnership that creates opportunities for all the parties to win.
While Nigeria seeks development in trade and investment from this partnership, for the Chinese, it's part of its strategic move to drive the next level of globalization.
China already become the #1 industrialization country. That means they have very powerful production capability. Then they need the biggest market to meet their supply. And African need a lot of supply.
With a 3-year delivery lifespan, China expresses confidence this plan is as good as delivered and promises it will be one with mutual benefits.
And Anne Waldo has some more stories from the world of business.
Thanks a lot, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. The House of Representatives has asked the Central Bank of Nigeria to suspend its plan to implement an electronic invoice policy for all import and export transactions in the country. And this is coming barely 1 week after the CBN announced the introduction of the e-evaluator and e-invoice to replace the hard copy final invoices, which of course was expected to commence on February the 1st. The lower legislative chamber has passed the resolution during plenary today following the adoption of a motion sponsored by the Kogi State lawmaker Leke Abejide. They also asked the CBN to give 90 days timeline for the implementation of subsequent fiscal and monetary policy measures to avoid destabilizing effects on the economy. Meanwhile, the Honorable Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Issa Pantami, says that it is impossible for any economy to be transformed without digitization. The minister, who was speaking with reporters after the launch of the e-platforms developed for the Nigerian Postal Service in Abuja, explains that the digitized company will improve ease of doing business, improve transparency and fight corruption. Earlier, the Postmaster General, Dr. Ismail Adewusi, said he's optimistic that the new plan will serve as platforms towards repositioning the agency's services to what is obtainable globally.
NIFOS is in each and every local government. Sometimes within a local government you discover so many offices of NIFOS. So we want to leverage on that and ensure that we use the Nigerian communication satellite, which will be able to provide internet connectivity all over the country in places where there is no ATM card, there is no ATM machine, and that will be an alternative for underserved and unserved community. There are many economic impacts because when you simplify the way of financial transaction for citizens, you allow them to spend more at the comfort of their homes or their villages. So there are many. Financial transaction has been increasing global economy for years, and these financial transactions leverage on digital services to do. In the course of the presentation, it was mentioned that even through POS, a transaction was conducted in Nigeria within a period of time for over 6 trillion naira. If there is no POS, that transaction cannot be possible. So there is no doubt it has many impacts on that, and it allows our citizens to be at the comfort of their villages to do financial transactions electronically.
PZ Cussons Nigeria PLC has reported a return to business growth occasioned by the increase in the demand of its brands and the implementation of its business strategy. This also resulted in significant improvements across all its financial indices in the year 2021. These and other reports were presented to shareholders at the company's 73rd annual general meeting right here in Lagos.
PZ Cussons Command Center in Ilupeju is where board members and shareholders converge for the 73rd annual general meeting to review the company's activities for the year ended May 2021. Attendance is by proxy. Physical audience is limited to the required maximum number, occasioned by COVID-19 protocols. The financial statement of the company shows that revenue increased by 23% to 82.6 billion naira. Resulting in a 143% increase in profit before tax of 3.4 billion naira, against a loss of 7.9 billion naira in 2020 and a 115% increase in profit after tax. The chairman of the company describes the 2021 financial year as a period of recovery and repositioning for sustainable and profitable growth.
PZ Industries has been in Nigeria over 60 years. It's focused its attention back on its core, so that we've sold our milk business and we're now doing the things that people remember us for.
The company has set out a new path to sustainable, profitable revenue growth with a new mantra of building brands for life, for today and for the future.
The new strategy is pretty much underpinned by 5 strong commitments, which is we are going to build brands. We are going to continue to service and to serve our customers across Nigeria. We are going to continue developing our people. And at the same time, we will try to reduce the complexity in our business in order to become more focused and, of course, more agile. And last but not least, we continue to grow the business in a very sustainable manner.
You had seen the brilliant profits we've achieved. It's through the people. We continue to invest in their training, their development, their exposure, creating a good culture that brings out the best in people.
The profit also reflected in the increase of dividend payouts to shareholders.
Shareholders are very delighted that we are having an improved dividend from 10 kobo to 25 kobo. And of course, not only on improvement in the dividend, we also see an improvement in the capital appreciation of their shares in the market.
PZ Cussons Nigeria is a dynamic consumer products company, creating some of the best loved and trusted brands in personal and home care categories. Amidst a volatile and competitive market, the board and management of the company say they're confident of profitability and improved shareholder return in the future.
Well, the color is red today at the local equities market. It reversed the previous gains today. Sell pressure on Dangote Cement pulled back the main indicators by a strong margin amid 15.1% decline in its total volume of shares. Laddie Williams has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, today the local bourse couldn't sustain intraday gains. At close of trading today, saw the bourse close in the red, down over 1%. The move wiped out over 200 billion naira from the equity cap. The activity chart is mostly red as volume today sits at 279 million units valued at 2.76 billion naira. Received value is down almost 50% in today's trade. See sell pressure in heavyweights like Dangote Cement, MTN Nigeria and Adova dragged the market down. The 2.87% jump in Boer Cement couldn't save the day. Guess investors were impressed with Boer Cement Group commissioning of its 3 million metric ton plant commissioned today by President Muhammadu Buhari. Well, Nigerian breweries led the Guinness counter as its share price closed at 5 naira 50 kobo, followed by Guinness Nigeria, which in turn fired the consumer goods counter up almost 2% today. While NEM Insurance stock price lost about 3 kobo to close at 3 naira 20 kobo, leading 18 decliners. The trio of UPDC Real Estate Investment Trusts, Courtville and Transcore were the most traded stocks by volume. So it's fingers crossed for the weekly close tomorrow. Maybe we might see the bull return. And that's the stock market report. I'm Ladi Williams. Back to you.
Thanks for watching Business News Tonight. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Anne. The United States is threatening to block the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which runs from Russia to Germany, if Russia invades Ukraine. The 1,225-kilometer pipeline, completed over 5 years and costing $11 billion, provides Russian gas to Western Europe and is expected to double Russia's gas exports to Germany. Well, here's Simon Pusey with more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Germany and the US have warned they could target a key Russian gas pipeline if the country invades Ukraine. A US State Department spokesman said the Nord Stream 2 pipeline will not move forward if Russia were to attack. The controversial energy project is designed to double gas flow and runs from Russia direct to Germany under the Baltic Sea. Meanwhile, schools in Ukraine have been holding bomb threat drills to teach children what to do if their buildings are attacked. Tens of thousands of Russian troops have massed on Ukraine's borders in recent weeks, prompting fears of an invasion, despite repeated Russian denials of any plan to attack.
Well, it's a very worrying situation in Ukraine. We're seeing Russian troops amassed on the border, and we're being very clear with Russia, which is there would be severe economic cost to Russia if they were to stage an incursion into Ukraine. We're also helping Ukraine with the supply of defensive weapons, and we're strengthening our support to NATO as well.
6 young Japanese people are suing the operator of the Fukushima nuclear plant after developing thyroid cancer in the years following the nuclear disaster. The plaintiffs, aged between 6 and 16 at the time of the disaster, say they got cancer from radiation exposure. All of them underwent surgery to remove parts or all of their thyroid glands. However, they may struggle to prove that radiation led to their cancer. Southern Africa has been hit by flooding that has left dozens dead across the region in the wake of Tropical Storm Anna. Events have been held around the world to commemorate the Holocaust. Here, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, the German President and Knesset Speaker of Israel, laying wreaths.
Zum Hass verführen. Sie wählt und streitet demokratisch.
There were then emotional speeches in the Bundestag, with calls for more to be done to remember those who died. Holocaust Memorial Day marks the liberation of the Auschwitz-Birkenau camp, the largest of the Nazi death camps in 1945. Around 6 million Jewish people were killed by the Nazis in World War II. The day also marks the genocides that followed in Cambodia, Rwanda, Bosnia and Darfur. Jordanian soldiers have killed 27 smugglers as they tried to cross the border from Syria with large quantities of amphetamines during a snowstorm. Others, also carrying drugs, fled back into Syria during the attempt, one of an increasing number of such incidents over the past year that had led to the army to toughen its rules of engagement with smugglers. US Vice President Kamala Harris has departed for Honduras, where she is expected to attend the inauguration of the Central American country's first female president. Washington hopes to alleviate the political turmoil clouding the assumption of power by leftist President-elect Xiomara Castro. US officials want to work with Castro to curb illegal immigration from Central America and shore up international support for Taiwan. And finally, a sculpture of the NBA great Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gigi Bryant has been erected at the site where they were killed in a helicopter crash. The 160-pound bronze statue depicts the pair wearing basketball uniforms and sharing a loving glance as Gigi holds Kobe's hand as it rests on her shoulder. Engraved on the statue's steel pedestal are the names of all 9 victims of the early morning crash, which happened exactly 2 years ago.
The reason why I came today was because when I would visit the area prior to this, I never got the sense that something was done in the right way to honor the lives that were lost. And this is my attempt to kind of do things the right way.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. And now to sports news. Super Falcons head coach Randy Wardrum has invited 35 players to camp ahead of next month's African Women's Cup of Nations final qualifying fixture against Cote d'Ivoire. The Super Falcons and the Lady Elephants will trade tackles over 2 legs for 1 slot at the African Cup of Nations to be hosted by Morocco in the month of July. That's sports news. I'm Chris Alems. Back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. President Muhammadu Buhari today flagged off Buha's 3 million metric ton cement plant in Sokoto. The president said the project is evidence that government's economic policies are working. We also brought you the report that Mr. Biodio Yebanji today emerged the flag bearer of the All Progressives Congress and the June 18 governorship election. That's in spite of an initial protest by 7 aspirants who claimed the exercise was marred with irregularities. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Nwaka. Have a good night and stay safe.